This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to all entrepreneurs, from the person just starting up to the one that is already well established. My goal is to help you grow. I am your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Okay, so today I'm going to start with two stories. The first story is going to be a spoiler for a podcast called The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe. Go check that out. I'm not paid to say this one at all. I just think it's a great podcast. Go check it out. But in this podcast, he talked about this guy whose dad had invented this special kind of paste to clean the walls off, the wallpaper off from soot. See, back in the day when you had gas lighting and you had candles and such, this would create a lot of soot that would coat the walls with a layer of black gunk in your house. Now, this isn't very nice, made the house darker, not very bright, not very fun to live in, and people wanted to clean it off. The problem was many people had wallpaper, and if you used your typical like water and sponge or things like that, it would rip the wallpaper off the wall. This was not modern wallpaper. They weren't able to coat it and make anything plastic or anything like that. So it was just paper, thin paper that could easily be destroyed. So this guy, his dad, came up with this cool little kind of sticky, pasty stuff, and you could use it to rub off the soot without damaging the walls. Worked pretty good. But years later, with the invention of electric lighting, this product really kind of ceased to have any importance or value at all. You see, this was an instance where you had to innovate or die. And sometimes, like I said, you need to innovate, but don't leave your core market. Now, there's an exception to that rule, which is when your core market vanishes. When there's no longer a market for your product or service, then you really have to think about innovating and changing, because when you're selling a product whose main focus is to clean wallpaper from soot, and now no one has sooty wallpaper anymore, then you have a problem. You can't obviously try to retain your core target market in that case. There's very few cases where that happens. Matter of fact, off the top of my head, I really can't think of another really good example where the market for something like that completely vanished in the modern age. I mean, you have a market for a type of product, but in an industry that is still viable. For example, you don't buy 8-track tapes or even cassette tapes anymore, or very rarely CDs anymore, because the market for the product is actually music, not the device used to play it. So yeah, if you sell 8 tracks, then maybe you need to develop an MP3 player. Or a better example would be Kodak camera, which is another example of the story. I'll go back to the first one in the morning, but Kodak camera helped develop the digital camera. They helped develop the first digital cameras. They were up in the forefront of it. However, they failed to see the value in the product of digital cameras, and they didn't really push it, and they thought, well, people will still need film. You see, they mistook, maybe I'll do a podcast on this one later. They mistook their product as fulfilling the need. They thought the product was the need. They thought the film was the need. No, the need was to capture memories, to capture events, to remember things, to show your friends. That was actual need. The need was capturing. The product was not capturing. It was just the tool to capture. That's all that was. It was the product to capture, but what the need was to capture the event, the memory, the moment. So they missed out on that because they failed to innovate, and now Kodak no longer exists, and they were a massive company. So I think I'll do another podcast on that very subject in the near future. So then you had another massive company, massive dinosaur, huge company that's been around forever and well known, at least in the US, and that's Hershey. I mean, Hershey's even has a town called Hershey, Pennsylvania, that was built by Hershey. I can't remember the guy's first name, but the guy who invented Hershey's built a whole town to support his factory. That was pretty innovative in the time. He wasn't the first to do it, but he did it because he wanted to help people out. He was a pretty cool guy. However, after he died, the factory went into kind of stasis. They kind of got stuck in time. They didn't innovate. They didn't change. They didn't chase opportunities. After World War II, the troops had been giving out Hershey's chocolate to thousands and thousands of kids all over the world, and there was a demand for Hershey's chocolate. But Hershey's decided they didn't want to innovate and go after that target market of worldwide market, which was everyone wanted Hershey's, and they failed to do so, and they've never made it into the global market. They're the largest chocolate maker in the US, but that's it. No one here's hardly even heard of them, and I'm in Norway right now. So missed opportunity because they failed to innovate, and not just that, but for decades, they never had a marketing department. They only had direct salesmen selling chocolate bars for resale to retailers. That's it. If you wanted to buy Hershey's, you didn't see a Hershey commercial. They didn't have a marketing department. They didn't have a marketing team. They only had salespeople going in and selling Hershey's to the store managers to put on display. They didn't innovate, and they almost went under because of a lack of innovation. So that today is the main focus here. Is you need to realize you continually need to innovate. You need to innovate in your industry. You need to innovate in your marketing strategy. You need to innovate in where the different markets you're heading for. There's always room for innovation. Even if you have a great formula, and I got to look at it. Some companies don't seem to innovate a lot, but they still are extremely successful. So that tells me they're doing something really, really right, and they're innovating very slowly because they don't need to innovate quickly. There still needs to be innovation. You still need to do something. You still need to move with the times, of course. But one of the only exceptions I can think of that hasn't changed a whole lot is In-N-Out Burger out of California. They expand slowly. They have a very simple menu. They don't add quickly. They don't change things up very quickly. But they take really good care of their employees. They take really, really good care of their managers. And they're always busy. And their food's amazing. Just saying. But I have to look into them. But it's pretty rare that a company doesn't innovate and survives. Just like it's also pretty rare that your target market completely vanishes virtually overnight. Which brings me back to this poor guy who is now sitting on a formerly large company selling wall cleaner equipment or product and now doesn't have a market for it. So what did he do? He got a friend of the family, a guy named Captain Kangaroo, who ran a kids' TV show and had him show it to some kids. You might think, why wall cleaner? Well, he got Captain Kangaroo to go ahead and do it. He showed it to his kids on the show. They loved it. It was amazing. And he was able to innovate, change the use of the product, target it towards kids, and save the company and make a massive company out of it. And this product, which used to be a wall cleaner, is now called Play-Doh. Yeah, you can change your product for a different market if it works. Sometimes you have to innovate and change because you can otherwise you die. But he took a dead product, innovated, found a different use for it, found that kids liked to play with it, and it was safe and non-toxic, and added some colors, and voila, Play-Doh. That's innovating or dying. That's how you successfully change and innovate. Find a new market. By the way, Hershey's did open a marketing department and started marketing and started winning again and started becoming successful again when they started to innovate. And I'm sure when I go and look into it, I'm sure that In-N-Out Burger probably has done some innovations as well over time. But that's for another day. Managing your growth, scaling slowly or quickly, all that good stuff, that's a whole other episode. But by and large, I've seen company after company, they've been around for 100 years, 80 years, 90 years, 70 years. Big, huge, behemoth dinosaur companies go bankrupt. Why? Because they failed to innovate. They failed to innovate properly. They get stuck in the past. I've heard of multiple giant chains that have been around for hundreds of years, like 100 years, 90 years, 80 years, and they get stuck in time somewhere along the way, and they don't change, and they don't follow the market. They don't come into the future at all, and they become a dinosaur and become a fossil and go extinct. So you have to innovate. You have to do the balance. You can't, again, forget your target, your core, your roots. Unless those roots disappear, then you need to find new roots, which is, again, super rare. But you do need to innovate or you die. You need to make sure that you understand what the core need your product fills is, and innovate along those lines. I think that's one of the key things. Radio Shack, the core need their products filled was to repair and to help people out. That was the core need. That's what the products did. When their products didn't fulfill that core need, they lost their business. When Kodak forgot the core need of capturing moments and focused on just film, they went under. So that's another. I think I'll just dig into that a little bit more next podcast. Anyway, if you're having a hard time coming up with innovation, if you're having a hard time seeing a new direction or anything else, that would be a great time for us to help you. Here's the little pitch today. Today, we're sponsoring ourselves again. We do have a free half-hour consultation. We do business consultation. You can contact us. We can help you. We can talk to you, find out more about you, more about your product, your service, your company. We're pretty good at finding trends, seeing where things are going, looking at the marketplace. Maybe we can help you find a way to innovate, help you out. It's a free reach out, free half an hour consultation, and we can go from there. Check us out. We'd love to help you innovate and grow because, again, we really want people to grow and be successful. You have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, just as a reminder, we do offer a free 1/2 hour, no obligation consultation. All you need to do is go to our website and contact us through there, or you can contact me directly at my O'Connor Bootstrap podcast Facebook group or our Atheoz.com Facebook page as well. And if you would like to support this channel, the best thing you can do, of course, is to like and share and subscribe. That helps the most. Or you can check out one of our affiliate links. And of course, I do have a PayPal and a Patreon account, and the links will be in the description below. Thank you very much. You all have a good day. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast and Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For other podcasts, past episodes, and related blogs, please check out our website at www.atheoz.com. That is www.atheoz.com or theoz.com. Until next time, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.